Manual transaxle, fifth gear, and detent installation. Install the input and output shaft bearing snap rings. At first glance, you can't see the snap ring groove on the bearings. The shaft needs to be lifted to expose the snap ring groove. Rotate the transaxle and tap on the input shaft with the soft end of a hammer handle or use a soft-faced hammer. Use a socket or any spacer to rest it onto the input shaft as you rotate the transaxle so the bell housing is down, flat on the table. This will keep the input shaft up, exposing the snap ring groove. The input shaft snap ring groove is now visible. By hand, with the aid of a small screwdriver, the snap ring can be installed. Catch one end and walk it around until the snap ring is in place. The socket can now be removed from supporting the input shaft. To expose the groove on the output shaft, thread the nut onto the output shaft. Use the output shaft gear and a large screwdriver to leverage an upward force onto the output shaft. While holding the shaft upwards, install the snap ring by hand. Install the bearing retainer plate, bolts, and torque them to specifications in a crisscross pattern. Before proceeding any further, the operation of the transaxle needs to be checked. Use a small screwdriver through the guide bolt hole to leverage the shift fork gates. This will shift the transaxle. Move the first shift rod down for first gear. Spinning the input shaft should also spin the output shaft. Move the first shift rod up for second gear and check the rotational operation. Return the 1-2 shift rod back to neutral. Install the detent ball and spring for the fifth and reverse shift fork rod. Tighten the detent bolt finger tight. Leverage the middle third and fourth gear shift rod down with a screwdriver to engage third gear. Check for proper rotation followed by an upward movement on the 3/4 shift rod to check the operation of fourth gear. Return all shift rods back to neutral. I will be using one of these fifth driven gear installation tools. However, this can be done carefully with a piece of pipe of the correct diameter with a hammer. Install the gear by hand, making sure to align the splines. Thread the tool onto the output shaft. Hold the threaded shaft on the tool while rotating the forcing screw nut to install the gear. Install the gear all the way down until it stops. Install a new nut onto the output shaft, but leave it loose for now. Install fifth driven gear spacer. Lubricate the shaft. Install both halves of the bearing and lubricate the bearing. Prior to installing fifth gear, the gear and the synchronizer ring were both inspected. Install fifth gear onto the shaft, making sure to align the helical teeth with the driven gear. Before installing the synchronizer hub, properly install the keys and springs. The hub can be installed upside down, so make sure to install the hub with the large flat center hub facing down closest to the gear. Note the center splines are slightly recessed on the side that goes down. The keys will have the side with the notch facing upwards, and the center splines come all the way to the edge on the side that faces upwards. Lubricate the blocker ring surface and install fifth gear blocker ring. Pay attention to the location of the blocker ring key cutouts. There is no specialty tool beyond a proper size diameter piece of pipe or the Easy Driver press tool. Make sure whatever you use that it fits properly over the shaft and contacts the center of the hub. Install the synchronizer hub by hand, making sure to align the splines on the shaft and align the keys to the blocker ring key cutouts. Carefully tap the hub onto the shaft, making sure to keep the keys in alignment and not to go down too far. There is a thrust clearance adjustment and a snap ring clearance that I must pay attention to. Here you can see the hub needs to go down just a little bit more for the snap ring to fit in the groove. After one more gentle tap with a hammer, the snap ring now fits into the groove. Use the specialty tool or flat blade screwdriver to install the snap ring. Use the dial indicator to measure fifth gear thrust clearance. If it is not within specification, the hub position will have to be adjusted and a new snap ring of a different thickness will have to be used. Install the synchronizer sleeve, making sure the cutouts in the sleeve are aligned with the keys, and the sleeve is also installed where the flat side of the inner teeth are facing up. Slide the sleeve all the way down to engage fifth gear. Use your flat blade screwdriver to engage third gear. This will lock the shafts so they won't turn. This makes it possible to torque the output shaft nut to specifications. Once torqued, the nut must be staked with a centering punch to prevent it from coming loose. Since this is a training transaxle, I did not use a new nut, and I'm unable to effectively stake this nut to the shaft. Fifth gear shift fork uses a specialty bolt with a shoulder to properly secure the fork to the shaft. Remove fifth gear synchronizer sleeve, making sure to press down on the keys so they don't pop out. Lubricate the hub, sleeve, and shift fork. Install the shift fork in the proper direction. Make sure to align the hub with the keys and that the spline flat side is up. Slide the sleeve and fork into position and install the shift fork specialty bolt and torque to specifications. Make sure all the shift forks are in neutral and install the rest of the detent balls, springs, and sleeves. For non-training transaxles, use a drop of thread locker on the threads of the detent ball bolts. Torque the detent bolts to specifications. Once again, use a flat blade screwdriver to check the shifting and spinning operation for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and reverse. Once you're happy that it is all working properly, install the shift shaft snap ring using the installation tool or a flat blade screwdriver.